So over the course of a couple of days in class, we mapped out what you see drawn out in purple here. And these are all locations where we see landforms that have been shaped by the movement of tectonic plates. Mostly what we've got are these ridges and rises in middles of the ocean, and then trenches near the outsides of the ocean. There are a few other features that are drawn out here. So, for example, we have the Mediterranean Sea and the Red Sea here. We also have the Himalayan mountains that are outlined. But those are all going to be features that were caused by the plates moving around from place to place. Our task on Monday of this week was to fill in the gaps between those using the help of a textbook diagram to kind of figure out where all the big chunks, the chunks of crust, which are the tectonic plates, where all of those end. And so for that, we're using this diagram in the book. It's on page 234, and we're just mapping out anything that's not already mapped out for the borders of these things. It's a little tricky because here North America is on the far left side, but on your map North America is in the middle, so we do have to pay attention to that a little bit. But if we run through the borders on this, we have the North American plate that North America is a part of, and the border of that one will run kind of down the coast here and up the coast. We had the Cascade Trench marked already. Over here, it's going to cut across right here, and there's something called the Puerto Rico Trench here. So it follows the Puerto Rico Trench. And up here, we'll continue that. This line goes right through Iceland. Iceland is actually being split apart right now by that movement of the plates. And over on the other side, it's going to continue through, and there's a mountain range here in Russia that it goes through. So it's something along these lines. And this is the North American plate. Okay, down below the North American plate, we have a small one right here. This is the Caribbean plate right here. And I'll label that up here because it's a little tight. Caribbean plate. Or Caribbean plate. Down here, we have just one thing marked out. We can finish this out. And then there's one division we didn't mark out together, and that's where the Cocos Ridge is. So where the Galapagos Islands are. There's a division right there. You can follow along there. And then this little one right here is going to be the Cocos plate, C-O-C-O-S. And then down here is the Nazca plate. Now I'll just finish off the edge on that one. Moving down, we've got the Antarctic plate, which is mostly filled in. So we'll just add a little bit there. Connect those, and then over here, we've got a couple little gaps to just finish filling in. We mapped out most of those. And then there is one little piece here, the Scotia plate, and that goes kind of down around like this. So the Scotia Sea, and this is the Scotia plate. And then the big one is the Antarctic plate, which actually isn't Antarctic plate. There we go. It's not really much bigger than any of the other plates. It just looks that way because the bottom and top of a map like this gets stretched out. In the middle here, we've got this mostly mapped out too, so we'll just fill in a couple little gaps there and there and there. And this is the Pacific plate. Okay, over here, need to fill in a gap that goes across there. Continue that along here, and then this actually finishes up over on the other side a little bit. There we go. And this is the Indo-Australian plate. And that is the plate that's currently ramming Asia, the Eurasian plate. Speaking of which, the Eurasian plate, that's almost fully drawn out here. So we'll draw this border in there. And then there's a little division right here. So this is the Eurasian plate, and it extends across the map to the other side here. So this is still the Eurasian plate. I'll label that too. There is this section right here, this is the Arabian Peninsula, and that's actually a separate tectonic plate, the Arabian Plate. And then this one is fully enclosed already, that's the African Plate. And then one little one over on this side, we have a trench that we can follow around here. And this is the Philippine Plate. Here we go. So now we have all the tectonic plates mapped out. The next step is understanding how these things move relative to one another and what we see as the results of that movement. The first thing that we're going to talk about is earthquakes and volcanoes, and we'll find as we plot earthquakes and volcanoes on this map, we don't have any here plotted on this version, but on your version you'll have a bunch of volcanoes and earthquakes, and we'll see that they tend to follow these lines. So it's the spots where two plates meet, where we're going to have cracks that allow for volcano formation, for the magma to come out and erupt as volcanoes. And it's the movement of plates past each other that causes the shaking that we associate with earthquakes. So all this tectonic activity is going, or the vast majority of it anyway, is going to happen at the boundary between two plates. And so the spots that we hadn't filled in before, we can figure out where those things are going to be based on earthquake and volcano data, as well as what we see in the structures of the Earth itself. That's it for now. We'll next look at those different land formations.